Hi, this is Margo. This is Monday, January the 6th, 2020. And I was going to do this update yesterday on Sunday, but I did not feel well enough, but I had everything ready to go and just couldn't do it. So I hope everyone is doing well as possible. I'm hanging in there. And we're going to look at methane today. CAMS is lagging in their methane data. The only data they have is from a week ago, last Tuesday, December 31st. I've been waiting for new methane data and it has not come up, and this is why you don't see the third column for the day over here. When they get down to one day, they just, here's the date here, Tuesday, December 31st, and then Arctic level and surface level. We are going to look at the NOAA data, and I've been charting that week by week at the 477 millibar range. And I'm also going to do a comparison between methane this time last year on CAMS, and you're going to see an interesting comparison. Now, I wasn't tracking the NOAA data this time last year, so we don't have that to compare to, but I was recording and doing methane updates from the CAMS data. And we're going to do a sea ice update and look at Climate Reanalyzer today. So, and we're going to look at a couple of things on NASA Worldview as well. So we're starting with Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Services out of the EU, and methane, Arctic levels, Arctic view, surface level, and for Tuesday. So here's where it ended on Monday with we're seeing methane coming up through the sea ice. There's ice all the way around here now, and it's all the way up to the edges of the coastlines. I'm going to show you that too. So with it being surface level, this is coming up through the sea ice. So we'll just run this movie. It'll smooth out after the first time through. Now I'm kind of flipping out here watching all this methane coming up through the sea ice, marching just like a wave, releasing all the way across. And see, it's not just yellow, it's into the red zone, which is red is 2100 parts per billion. And we're seeing very high releases over here in Siberia, and then they move out into the Kara Sea, and we still have high releases here beside Novaya Zemlya. Now, what you're going to see on Climate Reanalyzer is disturbing because almost all of northern Russia is in the red now, and it will be interesting when we do start seeing the CAMS methane data to correlate to the 2-meter temperature anomaly that we're seeing in Siberia. I expect to see, when we see that, I expect to see waves of methane moving all the way across where it's red. So, just to put some things into perspective, as we see this wave march across all the way to Canada, hold on. Okay, as we see this march across all the way to Canada, don't think that this is the first time we've seen it like this. I have a video pulled up that we can compare to. It's from last year. It is on my YouTube channel, and it's called Arctic Methane, More 5G Discussion and Earthquake Report with Margo from January 9th of 2019. Now I have the sound turned off, but what we can see, okay, that here it's the same time frame, and actually CAMS was a week behind. They got a week behind on their data last year as well. So what we're seeing is from Tuesday, January 1st. So this is the Arctic view surface level from Tuesday, January 1st of 2019. And it looks almost identical to what we're seeing this year. We are seeing bigger waves of releases over here in Russia than what we have right now. And if we, okay, here's the beginning of the movie with December 31st. We do see pretty high releases, but as it runs through, it's probably a little less than last year over here in Russia, but I think it's more coming up out of the Arctic because we are seeing the red. So I'm going to pause that. So that's into the forecast period of the 4th. So let's go back to our movie. So here it is, January the 1st still, and I'm talking there, but we can just watch the silent movie when I start it going, and you'll see we can see, okay, I'm showing that it's from Tuesday, and see they got behind, and then they put them all up together. They put them all up like within a day or so of each other. So I'm trying to go back to get the day-by-day data. And since then, now, whenever this happens, as soon as they start releasing the data on CAMS, I start recording the data as a silent movie and put it up for my members on my Subscribe Star page. So if you're wanting to see just the data, and they're very short movies, they're only about 4 minutes long, and you just want to see the data where I'm documenting it, you're welcome to join us over on my Subscribe Star page. And you get notifications every time I put up a new post, and you can private message me, you can comment, you can thumbs up the videos. I really like that Subscribe Star platform, but I have to warn people, if you join my Subscribe Star platform, I do talk about my spiritual beliefs over there, and because it is my platform, and you know, if that's offensive to you, you know, then if that's very offensive to you, then you certainly don't have to join, or you know, you can stop your subscription of $5 a month at any time. But I also present lots of research and private videos for my members, and then I do spiritual messages as well. And I created that platform as a safe place for when because of the censorship, and I don't really talk about my spiritual beliefs that much anymore on YouTube because of the censorship. And so if I know I'm going to be putting a video up on YouTube, I keep it pretty much to the science and research and things like that. But I do believe we are in the end times, and all the things that go along with that. So here I'm pointing out the release. Now, what am I doing there? Oh, I'll go over to Climate Reanalyzer. Now remember, this is last year, and we're seeing very similar patterns. I'm going to pause it. Now, when we go to Climate Reanalyzer, we've got a whole cold thing coming across the Arctic, but it's really hot over in Siberia right now. So some of it is similar and some of it is not. So I'm going to pause my recording and I'm going to look for the methane where I'm recording that. I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, I looked through the beginning of the movie and I'm just going to let it roll because it'll be interesting to see a comparison to this time last year. That was January the 9th, so it's pretty close. Today's the 6th, and this time this year. So we're seeing pretty cold up in the Arctic. So to see that the methane coming up with the cold air and coming up through the sea ice is a little disturbing, except from that paper that I presented a few weeks ago, we know that methane can be released more in the colder weather because of the pycnocline layer. Now here's the 2-meter temperature anomaly. Remember we talked about that pycnocline layer of water in the ocean that breaks down in the winter time, so you don't have that holding in the methane, and so with the warmer water coming in up under the sea ice, it can release the methane, and methane can just come bubbling up because there's nothing holding it. Now that's where sea ice was this time last year. So we're going to see something pretty similar when we go through everything. I just think it's good to kind of have a review. There you can see that the sea ice has come up to the coastlines now. Here we go with the methane. Now I'm going to start the movie. This is from last year, January 1st, remember? Now watch. Oh, there's the sea surface temperature anomaly. That's similar to what we're seeing this year as well. Although this year it's not quite as brown right up there off the coast of Norway and Russia. We're still seeing red down by Greenland. There it goes. I did that while the movie was getting loaded up. So this is last year, and notice the arm of methane moving across, and then it's coming out of the Kara. Watch over here. See the Kara and, I mean not the Kara, but the Laptev and the Chukchi Sea, and then watch as it's going to start moving across. Now we do see it. This year it's moving all the way across, but from the looks of this video, we had an arm that was moving across last year, and more coming up and coming out and moving across. So possibly it could be more severe with moving all the way across this year. All the way to Canada. So I'm going to pause that. We may come back to that movie. I just don't know. I just wanted to show you the similarities. So here we have in the forecast period, and we'll see if it holds up once they start releasing the methane data. This wave releases all the way across into Canada. So there we go. Let's change views and let's go to the North Pole view, and we can see the whole northern hemisphere from this view. So this is back to 2020. December 31st is the latest data, and CAMS got behind for whatever reason. We still have high releases over here in northern India and in the Indian Ocean. High releases coming up from China in this area. Europe is releasing a whole lot. The UK over here, Spain. We're seeing high releases in California, these different parts of Canada, and this coming across the United States. And these waves that are releasing out of the ocean that are moving across. Now see, we're seeing the yellow or orangey color, and then the red coming up out of the ocean here next to Japan. But that is very disturbing to see this coming up through the sea ice. It's quite disturbing to me. Now, one thing I have noticed is wherever you have high sulfur dioxide readings, you typically have high methane readings as well. So one thing someone could do would be to look at sulfur dioxide, and then since we don't have the methane, we could look at sulfur dioxide. Now here's the global view. Now we're gonna do a close-up on Australia because those wildfires are still burning. It got, in my last methane video I did for my Subscribe Star members, it got white. There was white coming up here. It wasn't that dark brown or black anymore, it turned to white. I'm thinking indicating that it was off the charts. And this dark brown is between 2160 to 10,000 parts per billion. So that's really high if it goes off the chart from that. But we can see this wave, see it coming all the way across to Canada, Greenland, and then the movie starts over. But it's just quite disturbing to me. Have we had a blowout? We've had some high readings from NOAA this week, and methane is up according to my NOAA readings. So we're going to be looking at that in a minute too. Let's hop down to the Australasia view, and we'll get a close-up on what's going on with Australia. Here's Australia. Here's the southeast corner, and then it's burning down here in southwest. Here's New Zealand, here's the North Island, here's the South Island. So let's load this up. Okay, I'm not seeing the white now. Maybe that was just that one day. Got high releases up here in northwest Australia. There are fires burning up there as well. There are fires burning all the way down this east coast. There are fires burning up here, and up here, although they do have a cyclone coming in down over on this northwest side, and the only thing that's going to stop these fires is a bunch of rain. And then I'm thinking if they get enough rain to put the fires out, it's going to be flooding. It's going to be disastrous, and some people are saying that Australia is going to be changed forever from this, and I tend to agree. I mean, I don't see how they're going to be able to come back from this with the loss of so many resources, and it's quite tragic, and it's just quite tragic, and we need to keep them in our prayers. Keep all of them in our prayers. Here's 500 HPA for the global view, and we have to refresh to get the right chart. Now I want you to pay attention, and this reading goes up to 2360. That's the highest that goes in parts per billion on 500 HPA. And I want to show you something real quick. One of the pictures that I saved, this is from NOAA, from this is the 477 or 469 millibar reading. This is from January 2nd, which was Thursday, and this is the MET-OP1 satellite in the afternoon, and the range was up to 2670 parts per billion, 2670, that fuchsia color, which is right down here. So that anything in this color can be between 2000 and 2670 parts per billion, and that's unbelievable. So this could be another reason that we're not seeing the CAMS data right now. So so this was from Thursday the 2nd. We're seeing in the Arctic all that fuchsia color, and then look down here in the middle of the Pacific, it's that fuchsia color too. Is that connected with the hot spot? I don't know. I don't know, but that's higher than, so this correlates to this 500 millibar reading, and the highest this goes is 2360. So CAM's got a reading of higher than what's on the chart here for this, basically the same level. I'm not seeing anything that would equate to the fuchsia color down here in this South Pacific. It's mainly gathered up in the northern parts of the world, around the Arctic, and then over here over China, and then over here in the Middle East. And if we look at total column, now let's refresh to get the correct color ledger. Now the highest is 2320 again. So here's what it looks like, total column for the 31st. And we're seeing some red here in the United States. We're seeing red over the Middle East, basically over the northern, the Mediterranean, right over the Mediterranean Sea. And then red over here from India over across Asia, and then over China, and then dark brown over here over China. And then it's coming up into the orangey mix. But once it gets to red, that's this bright red is 1880 parts per billion total column. That's where the methane is added up through the layers. And then the darker red is 1900. Then the dark brown is 1920 to 2320. So that's what we've got going on there. So if you want to take a peek, here's sulfur dioxide for today. So we're seeing the higher levels, the reddish over here. This is Kazakhstan, where it's coming up, and China, and Popocatépetl, Alaska. We're seeing some higher readings. This is from the fires down here in Australia and different places. We also have, I find it interesting to look at carbon monoxide. Usually you'll see high readings where there are fires, because that's from no oxygen. That's carbon monoxide. So let's go to Australasia again. So that's really high for Australia, where the fires are. And it's so distressing. And it's even, this is total column, so you can see how it's moving across, and above New Zealand there, the higher levels even. And look at this little patch on the south. But the worst is over here, over Victoria and New South Wales, where the worst of it is. Another one is nitrogen dioxide. We're seeing very high levels. Now these are off the chart. See how that's white? There's no white down here on the chart. So that's higher than this says 30 here, and then there's a 3. So I don't know what that's supposed to be. Whether that's supposed to be a 300 or what. I don't know. But it's above whatever the highest reading is, because it's white. And we can also look at formaldehyde. That's another high one whenever you have fires and noxious gases, and that is another one where it's in the white zone. It's off the chart. above the highest reading. And if we look at carbon dioxide, we can see it's a lot browner down here. And this top reading can go up to 1,000 parts per million. So 420 to 1,000 parts per million. So also, if you look at surface level ozone, let's go to surface level, it'll show up high wherever you have fires. Look at that. That's surface level ozone as well. So they're suffering. And it doesn't take looking at charts to know that they're suffering, but we can see how bad it is just from looking at these charts too. And that stuff that's burning is toxic stuff. It's not like it's just trees or, natural stuff. It's homes and cities and toxic chemicals and it's noxious stuff that's coming up. It's so bad. I feel so bad for everybody and for the animals. So even without having methane to look at, we know things are bad when we see this kind of stuff. So we'll just put that there. Now I'd like to go to the next part of the show, which is the NOAA data. So I'm tracking it, doing it on a weekly basis, tracking for Saturday. So here we have for Saturday the 3rd. Wait, no, I got the wrong one. Let me see which. Okay, there's the one from the 2nd. That was 2670. Alright. Alright. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. I had the wrong day up. So, we're looking at Saturday, January the 4th, from the 2 satellites that NOAA has. The METOP-1 and METOP-2 satellite readings, they take readings twice a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. So, here's the METOP-1 satellite in the morning from January the 4th. The mean is 1876 and the range was 1443 to 2652 parts per billion. So it's up high, 2652. So that's high too. That's high. So, and we're seeing fuchsia color down here in the South Pacific again. Here in METOP-1 in the afternoon, the mean is 1877 and the range was 1438 to 2467. So that's a little lower. Here's the METOP-2 satellite in the morning. And the mean is 1855. The range is 1468 to 2289. Met-Op 2 is typically runs a little lower than the Met-Op 1. And here's the Met-Op 2 satellite in the afternoon. The mean is 1856. The range is 1455 to 2290. So, but that's a really high reading. Again, this 2652. So, I think something happened. I think something's up in the Arctic. Otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing this high range on, day after day like this. So I plugged these into the spreadsheet that I'm keeping. Here it is for January 4th. And the mean this week was the average for all of those levels divided by 4 is 1,866 parts per billion. And last Saturday it was 1861.75. So it's gone up 4.25 parts per billion, and we can see it here on the chart. And that's a huge increase for 1 week. That's a very large increase. Now here, where we're showing this decrease of 5.75, that was more than a week there. I had gone like in a week and a half or 10 days or something. So I can't remember if there was no data or I wasn't feeling well enough to do the report. But the overall is up from March the 1st, 8.75 parts per billion. So we're starting to see, is this the trend for it to be starting back up? It's a little too early for it to be starting back up, but we'll see. So I'm going to be keeping track of this every week and showing it to you guys. So there's that. Now let's move on to the next part of the report, which is the sea ice. Now, my last sea ice update was done on December 22nd. So this is where it left off from December 22nd. This is from Climate Reanalyzer for the sea ice and snow cover. And there was still a little hole over here in the Chukchi Sea. We can see the blue, that's the ocean coming through there. So I think I was able to capture pictures every day here. So there's from Sunday, and there's the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, and we can see the hole is closed up. That's an island there, that little dot. Here's the 27th, 28th, 29th, and the 30th. There's the 31st. Here's January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. And I was going to do the report yesterday, so that's why all of these dates stopped for the 5th. So what we saw in this 2-week period was that hole filled up here in the Chukchi, and the Bering Strait is starting to be getting its sea ice back all the way down. And it's filled in here, down here to Svalbard, and it's still having a hard time on this east side of Greenland. We can see it's trying to come back on the Baffin Bay. It's having a hard time. Hudson Bay is covered. So what what we see though from the Navy website, here it is from yesterday, January 5th. This is the sea ice thickness. We can see the purple is the thinnest, the lavender, and the dark purple is about 1 meter thick. And then the blue is about 1.25 meters thick. The dark aqua is 1.5 meters thick. The lighter aqua is about 2 to 2.5 meters thick. Once you get into the green, that's moving into 3. Yellow is a little above 3.5. Orange is 4. Red is 4.5, and the dark brown is 5 meters thick. So we're seeing the thickness coming back a little bit, and if we blow this up, we can see purple here in the Baffin Bay and coming down Hudson Bay, but it's quite thin as it's moving down. It's pretty thin around Greenland, around this southeast part, and here's Svalbard, here's Novaya Zemlya. It's come back pretty much around the coastline, still quite thin around these Siberian coastlines and going down these tributaries. It's quite thin over here on this side where the Laptev Sea is, and then the Chukchi Sea, and this East Siberia ice shelf is right over here. Now we saw methane coming up, moving all the way across in that wave, all the way across, coming up even through this thickest sea ice. We did see it coming up from cams, moving all the way across. So even though it's thickening up, I'm thinking it's just not real solid, and it's coming up through the sea ice. So that's what we're seeing. Here it is on the Bering Strait, and Pacific over here. Here's the 30-day animated GIF from the Navy. It goes back 3 weeks and forward 1 week. So the forecast goes to the 12th. We're actually seeing some thinning in the forecast period, which is a little disturbing. I'll stop it. This is on the 8th. We're starting to see some thinning up here around the Siberia coastline. I'll just go slow. We can see holes opening up here between Svalbard and this island here. So it's not good. So here it is on the 12th. What they're anticipating, there is a hole coming up through here. So it's not healthy ice. What is trying to refreeze, it's not in healthy condition. So there's that. Here is this animation that I created from NASA Worldview. This is the sea ice concentration on the blue marble layer, and the start date on this is the 20th of December, and it runs through January 3rd. The blue is less concentrated, the white is more concentrated. So even where it's trying to come back, it's this edge keeps moving and changing, and then comes out and then retreats and gets thicker, gets thinner. So it's it's struggling. So let's leave that now. And now let's go to our websites that we want to look at. We're going to start with Climate Reanalyzer. This is today's weather maps from Monday, January 6th. Here's the maximum temperatures worldwide. We're seeing it pretty cold in the Arctic. It's supposed to be cold up there. When we go down to the Worldview, you can see from about Mexico and North Africa on down, it's all into the reds and into the whites down here in Australia. Australia's baking, Africa is baking, parts of South America are baking, and it's just not looking good. Here's our 2-meter temperature anomaly map. We can see this brown color over the Arctic, and this is where this methane was rising up, coming through. Now this is the air temperature, this 2-meter temperature anomaly. The brown is 10 degrees Celsius higher than normal. The red is 20, and then the pink is 30. So it can go from, when it goes from red to pink, it gets higher. So it's hot. Look at Siberia over here. So this is why I'm anxious to get the CAMS data to see what kind of methane is coming up over there right now. So let's look at the world here. And actually Australia, it looks like, is starting to cool down some, which is a relief, even though the fires are still raging. Antarctica is in the brown. A lot of North America is in the brown. Alaska is in purple, which is colder. And part of Greenland is in the brown. Here's this, look at this part in the ocean, which is in the red to this east of Greenland. And remember the blob, the hot blob in the Pacific Ocean? That's kind of, the air is in the brown there. Now worldwide, the temperatures are up 0.7 degrees worldwide. The northern hemisphere is up 1.2 degrees. This is Celsius. The Arctic is up 2.2. The tropics are up 0.5. Southern hemisphere is up 0.2. And the Antarctic is up 1.5 degrees. So their ice is melting. Let's click around. I want to take a closer look at this red in Russia. This is phenomenal. Look at it. It's going all, it's like, here's Novaya Zemlya, and the part that's not red is in the brown. So it looks like all of Russia is either brown or red, and it looks like it's going up into the pinky color here, going across the interior of Russia there and Siberia. So that means methane will be coming up. We should be seeing huge waves of methane being released, looking at that. There's the Antarctic. Here's the warm area. And here's Tasmania. That's the little island off the coast of Australia. Here's Australia. They've got some blue and some dark blue coming across, so that's a relief. But they've still got some browns going on. Let's look at precipitation. It's raining up here off the coast of Norway, and it's snowing over the Arctic. The blue is snow. And over here is snowing over this area that's in the red. So and here's something that's really kind of strange looking to me. Okay, here's Australia. They've got that cyclone coming in. I can't remember the name of it. Drake or something like that. It's coming in. So it's raining over here on the northwest area. Now look, we've got some green clouds on this eastern side, but I don't think they've got any forecast of rain. So I don't know if the rain is evaporating before it's getting to the ground or what. Oh, in Indonesia, they've had floods and floods and floods. It's awful. Let's take a peek at the jet stream. We can see our schizophrenic jet stream and swooping down across the interior of the United States, and then it zips up across the Atlantic and then up to Norway, and then swoops down, doing these crazy loops and dividing, going across northern Africa and across, and then this loop is dividing. And then we've got a couple of jet streams in the southern hemisphere. And here's our sea ice and snow cover. Here it is from today. We can click around. Here's this Russia and Siberia, where it's all red on the 2-meter temperature anomaly. Here's the Antarctic. This is where the sea ice is melting. Typically it does melt pretty much almost completely around the coastlines. And then it comes back in their winter time. And now let's look at the sea surface temperature anomaly. Now this is not as red as what we saw from the video from last year. It's more in the brown here. It was red down here by Greenland earlier, like a couple of weeks ago. We can see that where the North Atlantic is coming into the Arctic, it's in the brown. It's brown around Iceland. Iceland had an earthquake on land yesterday. It was a 5 point something. We can look at that. We can see the Atlantic. A lot of the Atlantic is brown. The Gulf of Mexico is brown. Most of the Pacific is brown, and then it's red over here. And then down here from between Africa and Australia is brown. All around Australia, the water sea surface temperature is in the browns, and over here was that red where it was the hottest, and that's gone down to a brown blob now instead of a red blob. It's brown all the way around Tasmania, and it's brown around the Antarctic. So the anomaly, the sea surface temperature worldwide is up 0.3 degrees. This is in Celsius. Northern hemisphere is up 0.4. North Atlantic is up 0.4. Equatorial Pacific is up 0.2. The southern hemisphere is up 0.2. And the North Pacific is up 0.4. So there's that. Now if we look at, this is the National Snow and Ice Data Center for the sea ice concentration. This is from yesterday the 5th, and this correlates with what we saw from the NASA Worldview movie that I showed you. Here's their chart. This blue line is this year, and the dotted line is from 2012. This is sea ice extent, and that's how measuring any form of sea ice, even if it's just barely there. And so the lowest it was since they started recording it was in 2012 until this year, and we were lower in October and parts of November, and then December we kind of got back up and started tying with 2012, and so they're not up to January yet in their data, but they're showing it a little bit above 2012 there, but still pretty bad, still not good. Here's the Antarctic, the daily sea ice concentration. And so the sea ice that you see there, it's quite thin. It's really blue, meaning it's not nearly as concentrated, especially down here on the southern, where this is the Ross ice shelf here, and where the ice is melting from the Ross around it, it's pretty much all blue. Here's the Weddell Sea up here. Here's the chart. The blue is this year. This solid dark gray line is last year. It was lowest last year. We did get lower than that earlier in the winter in November and December, and then it crossed over and got a little higher in December, but it's still lower than normal. So there's that. Now let's look at NASA Worldview. This is the Antarctic from today. I'm refreshing to get as much data as possible. Okay, it's almost all in. I wanted to show a couple of things. We're watching this A68 iceberg getting ready to go out to sea. Here it is from today. It's pretty cloud covered. We had a pretty good view from yesterday. Now last week, remember that the top of it, that northernmost point, was down here, almost even with this northern end of this little island that's furthest out. This is the archipelago, this western archipelago, and so it's moved. It's on the move, and so if we go back, you can see it move. Hang on. Let's get a good view. Okay, here it was from the 25th, which was Christmas, and it was just a little bit above that northern edge. So watch this as we go through. Kind of cloudy here, where we can see through the clouds. Look how much it's moved. So it was down here, and so from the 25th to the 1st, it's moved a lot, a whole lot. Here's the 2nd. Look at the ripples. Look at the ripples there, and ripples here. The 3rd, 4th, 5th. That was yesterday, and here it is today. It's hard to see through the clouds. So yesterday we can see that it's more than half of that iceberg has moved on up past this part. So that's getting ready to go out to sea. Now, another thing I want to show you is down here on this Pine Island Glacier. There's ice breaking off. We can see the holes where it's come off, these chunks. This is the ice shelf from the glacier, and it's starting to calve again. We can see lines. It's more pronounced yesterday. We can see this line going all the way across. Now I took a screenshot of this, and here it is from yesterday on the screenshot so that we can zoom in and take a good look at this. And we can see these are definite breaks in the ice, and so there's going to be a huge iceberg break off. I don't know when, but it's starting to calve again. There's a line that goes up here, and then there's another line that goes here. And so that's not good. It keeps breaking. Huge icebergs keep breaking off every year, and the line, it used to come all the way down to here, but it keeps breaking off. And there is an active volcano underneath here warming all that up. You can see here's the line where this ice sheet used to come. That's where it used to come out to. And then it started calving, and every year it breaks off more and more. These are pieces that have broken off, and then they go out to sea. Another one that we're watching over here on this Amory ice sheet, this D28 is the name of it. It's breaking free. It's kind of cloudy. You can't really see it today. There's yesterday. Here's a pretty good picture from the 4th. There are no clouds here. This solid piece is that D28 that broke off. I think it was September or October. It broke off down here, and it's moved all the way up. It's been kind of ice-bound, but look at this big separation of the ice because of the melting. Ooh, look at that color. That's interesting. So it looks like this may be going out to the ocean as well sometime soon. Now let's take a peek at the wildfires. I've got the fire layer turned on. This is for today. Let's go down to Australia, and it's awful. I mean, you can't even see all the fires that are burning, but look at the smoke that's come all the way across. Here's northern New Zealand. It's covered, the smoke is covering this northern tip of New Zealand here, and it looks like New Zealand has a fire burning over here on this east side. That's not good. And we're seeing what I would call beaming, but anyway, you can see this discolored cloud. That's the smoke coming across. Here's a cut and paste right here. So this is smoke coming across. Here the fire's burning. It's still burning though, and it's cloudy. I don't think it's raining. And there's some fires burning on Tasmania now. Here's some fires. Here's the Kangaroo Island where the fires are burning. And then southwest where it's burning. Here's the cyclone that's coming in, you know, so it's making rain. So the fires in northwest Australia are thankfully being put out. We still have fires in northeast Australia burning. There's the smoke from yesterday. See how it swooped down. There's this huge all the way across to New Zealand. Here's the 4th and the 5th. I'm going backwards. The 3rd and the 2nd. Look at the smoke, how it's gathering here. I'm thinking because of the hot spot there. What I don't understand, and I don't know if anyone can explain this, is why there's not more smoke like this from these fires that we're seeing in Africa and South America, and where we're seeing huge areas of fires. We're not seeing huge smoke like that. I wonder if anyone could explain that. I mean, we're seeing smoke, but not like that. You don't realize how many fires there are until you see these. And there are probably more than what they're showing here. So I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, wait. We haven't done earthquakes. Alright. Here's USGS for the last 24 hours for all magnitudes. We're showing 267 earthquakes worldwide. This one just came in at 5.2 near Kahali, Indonesia. It's in the ocean. You know, it's better for them to happen in the ocean than on land, I think. Look at this one that came in near Ascension Island. This was a 5.6 right on this red line. This is the tectonic plate in the middle of the Atlantic between South America and Africa. This one came in yesterday at 5:29 p.m. Pacific time. What's that? 2.7 Granite Falls, Washington. Anyway, let's go to last 7 days, all magnitudes. I want to show you the Iceland earthquake here. Right in the middle of the island, there's a tectonic plate line that runs right through the island. Now, Iceland is mainly volcanic. It's highly active with volcanoes and earthquakes. So, I'm not surprised to see this, but it was a 5.0, and it came in at 104 on January the 4th at 8:32 p.m. Pacific time, 8.2 kilometers deep. Right in the middle of the island, right there. We've had, look at these on this red line coming down through the Atlantic. Here's another one, a 4.8, right next to this 5.6 at North Ascension. Here's one near the Antarctic of 5.1. And then of course all the way around this ring of fire, and we're getting some larger ones pop back in. We haven't had any 7s. We've had some high 5s. I think we've had, was there a 6? I think this one down here in Mexico was a 6, but it got downgraded to a 5.8. Here's a 5.5 Nicaragua. We've had, look at all this going on at Puerto Rico. Right here in the last week, they've had 568 earthquakes. They had 5.8 right there. This came in today at 2:32 this morning. So most of these have been in the ocean. The ones that have been on land have been like 2s. So if these larger ones had been on land, they probably would have caused some damage. But I just think it's amazing to see all these earthquakes and how there's not more destruction from them. The ones on land, a lot of times they're kind of small. But the small ones count, and they eat away. And here's the Yellowstone region. Here's Cascadia region. Here's this Juan de Fuca plate. We've had some more earthquakes around there. Here, 1.7 south of Alaska. That's there was one earthquake that showed up here and then they took it off. It was a 5.3. Almost, it was out here in the North Pacific on the western end of this ridge. This is a fracture zone, the Mendocino fracture zone, and they took it off. I don't know what happened with that, but there was a 5.3 right out here. It was deep, 216 kilometers deep. That's what I saw. I saw it when it came on. I said I should take a picture of that, and I didn't. The Alaska region has had 348 earthquakes this week. Here's Japan. See, most of these are in the ocean, which is just amazing to me, rather than being on land. Down here, okay, here is a 5.1 north of this North Island of New Zealand. It's pretty near that volcano that went off. That volcano was right here, the White Island volcano. So I'd say keep an eye on all of that. Then there was a cluster here in the Kermadec of 8, between 5.4 and 4.5. Some of these are pretty deep. Here's 320 kilometers deep. The deeper they are, the less you'll feel the shaking on the surface, but the more it'll affect across the tectonic plate. Here's a 537 kilometer depth. This was a 4.6 south of the Fiji Islands. That was quite deep. Then we've had over here by Africa, and in Africa, here's one in the Congo of 4.5. Here's a 5.1 off the coast of this Mayotte. There's a little island here called Mayotte. Madagascar and Mozambique. It's between all of that. Then the excuse me, Middle East and Mediterranean and so forth. So that's about all my voice can take for today. I love you guys very much, and I get a drink of my tea. I do believe we are in the end times. No one knows the day or the hour, so we all need to be prepared for what's coming, and it's the end that's coming. And I do believe that everyone needs to get their spiritual houses in order and get right with God and Jesus before it's too late, before you have an earthquake upon you, or a tsunami, or a fire, or something like that. And physical is all going to go away. Jesus says that in the Bible. He says it's all going to go away in these end times. But His Word lives on, and His healing and His salvation lives on, and the promise of being a part of God's kingdom, that's what lives on if you decide to follow Him. So my name is Margo. If you appreciate my work, be sure to hit the like button underneath this video and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the cause, I have a PayPal link in the description box below. And I also have a Subscribe Star page where people can come, and I put up methane data in my private videos, and I also do more spiritual messages and different kinds of reporting over there, and that's for $5 a month. So I love everyone, so until next time, stay safe, God bless you, and go in peace, and goodbye.